Good morning, dear friends. Good time of the day, wherever you are. Thank you for being with us today on our Health Wave podcast. Today, we will be talking about food as medicine. What does it mean exactly that food is medicine? What kinds of foods are considered to be medicine or can be medicine? We will cover the future of medicine. Where is the modern medicine headed? And a lot of other different things, health tips for daily living. We will talk about farmers markets and CSAs and natural products. So we have several special guests with us today. We have Dr. Ashwani Garg, a family physician who practices lifestyle medicine, serves as volunteer medical director at Salient Lifestyle Center in Elgin, Illinois. He teaches physician assistants at North Central College. Dr. Garg, his wife, and twin boys live in northwest suburbs of Chicago. And I have to mention what makes Dr. Garg especially special is that he has been a Purple Sprout approved doctor for the past 5 years since we got to know him. Our guest number two is Karim Ra, aka also known as Dr. Nature. He is the certified Ayurvedic practitioner, co-founder of Purple Sprout Conscious Organics, Purple Sprout Health Academy, healthy living educator, body and mind purification expert. Our guest number three will be Peggy Malecki, publisher and owner of the Natural Awakenings Chicago magazine for the past 12 years, co-host of the Mike Nowak show, Gardener, and Avid Farmers Markets and CSA supporter. And guest number four, Freddie Schwartz, an athlete, organic plant-based food advocate, and a dedicated father of two boys. So, and now we are happy to bring on Dr. Garg. Hello.
Hello. Thank you again for having me.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
So,
you.
I know that you have to work today, but thank you so much for being with us this early morning. So,
Thank you.
Dr. Garg, I already had a chance to introduce you to our viewers and listeners. So, can you please tell us how did you embark on this healthy journey? It's very surprising for a doctor, and I already told our viewers that you have been a Purple Sprout approved doctor for the past 5 years. So, can you please tell us how did you embark on this journey?
Sure, thank you. So it was it's been about um actually it's been almost like 9 years, about 9 years or so that I watched the movie Forks Over Knives and also the CNN documentary. And the reason I embarked on the journey was because I myself saw patients that improved dramatically, even those that were already healthy. And then also in my own life insurance, I had a few values that were a little bit off in the lab checkup. So I did in the beginning, I did, almost raw vegan, and I followed PCRM's guideline afterwards, and I saw dramatic changes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, you advocate for whole foods, plant-based living. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you. And I've seen many results from that.
So, how are you able to influence your patients, or are you? And if you are, what are their results?
So I was lucky to be in the first class of certifications from American College of Lifestyle Medicine. And there we learned some skills, including motivational interviewing, meaning meeting the patient where they're at and helping them move one step better. So those techniques involved interviewing them to see which stage of change they are and where they are at. And then what I found is most patients are too shocked by big changes. So then it's like pulling, not pushing, inviting them to make those changes. And one way that I like to start as for some patients is a survey. It's called 4-Leaf Survey. So it's at the number 4leafsurvey.com. And it's just a quick questionnaire to get an idea of their current status. And while they're doing that, I write down a few notes. And then the treatment plan is customized for each person. Some people are ready to make bigger changes because they have, more serious health problems and they want quick results. So I will help them move to fully whole food plant-based. And then we customize it with their needs. If they have weight loss, weight gain needs, if they have, high degrees of inflammation, heart disease, or cancer, then it's customized to that health condition, or diabetes as well.
Got it. That's wonderful. So, what challenges do you think you are facing when you are trying to help people transition, or what challenges are those people facing?
So the biggest challenge is what I call inertia. Inertia means, so think of a big heavy object and it takes a lot of effort to move. It's that, first movement that takes the most effort because of social pressures and upbringing and culture. And then also stress and lifestyle. When someone is stressed out, it's hard for them to make changes because when someone is stressed, they go back to what they know, so-called comfort food or comfortable ways of doing things which they've done for many years. So the hardest part is making that first step to realize the need for change. So it's almost like treating addiction, right? That people are just hooked to their previous way of life. And the hardest part is realizing that you need to make the change.
And as we know, the hardest thing or the hardest person to change is yourself, right?
Right.
So what benefits have you seen people experience once they make a full transition to whole foods, plant-based living, or partially, or becoming
Sure.
plant-rich?
Yeah, so I would say this, that generally people see big benefits when they transition to mostly plant foods, and that can be, roughly 75 to 95%. But sometimes that extra 5 to 25% can make the biggest difference. So they already made health changes. They see themselves improving. That's why many of them want to go to 100% plant-based. And so I've seen, diseases reverse. And the fact is, it's not just me. It's well reported in the literature. There's 2 journals, American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine and the International Journal of Disease Reversal and Prevention. The good thing is that second journal is available in a consumer form, which is easy to read, and it explains all the research. And then there's, just a wealth of knowledge published in mainstream medical journals. So, for example, I like to teach physician assistants, and a recent article of the Journal of Physician Assistants included an article on plant-based diets, which is great. So what it is, just the last 2 years, this has become mainstreamed. And the latest research on COVID is very promising as well, showing that healthy living helps, exercise helps, plant-based eating helps reduce the chance of hospitalization and death dramatically. We're talking roughly 50 to 75%, which is the biggest benefit.
That's wonderful. My next question was going to be, how are you finding it challenging practicing what you believe within the very strict protocols of the modern medicine? But I think it's becoming less strict. Is that so?
Yeah, it is definitely becoming better. So very interestingly, you may know Dr. Neil Barnard. He was
Of
invited
course.
to our very large health system to give a continuing education talk online that all physicians and healthcare providers were invited to. So it is becoming a lot better. And, the mainstream doctors are changing. So I know several doctors now, GI physician, pediatrician, even cardiologists that are on board with plant-based eating. So the good thing is patients who need specialty care are now able to find, and in many cases, practitioners that are on board with the plant-based approach. I even know an endocrinologist who's on board with it. So, patients do need specialists. Sometimes they need procedures and surgeries. I even know a brain surgeon who is whole food plant-based, inspired by Rich Roll.
Wow. Well, it's all music to my ears. But
Yeah.
today, one of our guests, he will be speaking about his experience and how he got to be plant-based, and he was also influenced by ritual.
That's great.
Yes, yes,
Wonderful.
it is. So, Dr. Garg, can you please tell us a little more about teaching physician assistant students, and how, if you are able to kind of influence them as well, plant the seeds of,
Sure.
understanding of what benefits plant-based living can bring?
So interestingly, in the medical education world for physicians, teaching is quite challenging if with lifestyle medicine, because their curriculums are so jam packed and there's hardly any room for nutrition. In fact, it's less than, let's say 1 day's worth of teaching in most programs. And even that nutrition's focused on artificial nutrition. So, with the PAs, for example, physician assistants, I found such an open mind and a good friend that I knew from medical school. We came to each other's weddings. So she started a new program at North Central College in Naperville. And she was very open minded to the idea of incorporating lifestyle medicine when she invited me to be part-time medical director. So I have started from the beginning. The first lesson I taught the PA students in my class, which is called PA, Patient and Society, is empathy, because I think it's so important to learn empathy first before you teach anything. You have to connect one-on-one with the patient, show them you care. And then we did motivational interviewing exercises where they interviewed each other and implemented some interventions to make change. And the main approach is not as a parental relationship, but as a coach relationship, pulling rather than pushing, and motivating change based on the necessity of change. And what I was very impressed by is we showed Plantwise documentary, and they all had reflections to write. Plantwise documentary is a documentary about plant-based eating from Marilee Jacobs, who is the director who directed Eating You Alive. So we've been able to incorporate exercises and techniques. Each of them has a personal wellness plan, and I was happy to see that nutrition was a part of many of their wellness plans. So we have big things in store, and we hope to make a mark in the education world. And what I'm hoping is that PAs will fill those gaps where medical doctors, have left, because they have limited time, they have limited education. I hope the PAs will be the leaders in the field of lifestyle medicine, because that is the future of healthcare. We have a grand shortage of primary care doctors in the field. In fact, one prominent university in Chicago graduates fewer than 1 to 4% of their providers as family doctors. So that's how bad the situation will be, with a big demand coming up and less of a supply. That, I feel like PAs will fit just great and be able to add value to the care, not just do the same as the doctors do, but more in this field of lifestyle and motivation, because patients have a big trust of the physician assistants. They have great relationship with them.
Well, God bless you. And I pray for more doctors like you.
Thank you.
So, where do you think modern day medicine is headed in
Yeah, I
general?
would say, the latest seems to be more pharmaceuticals, more vaccines. There's an explosion of these so-called biologic drugs, which it's hard to keep track, but they always end in the two letters AB. The AB stands for antibody. So these are generated in the lab, and they're supposed to, work miracles according to the drug companies. But often what happens is with the vaccines, for example, the results are less than the promise. We were promised, for example, these mRNA vaccines would eradicate the virus, right? That if we got enough herd immunity, it would be gone. But what are we seeing today? We're seeing a resistant strain and 5 versions of it popping up that are now infecting people who've been double and triple vaccinated. But and as far as the antibodies, sure, they have a great promise, but they don't always work, and sometimes people, have diminished effect after a while for those. So really, the root cause, the 2 greatest developments in medicine today, are the understanding of microbiome and the understanding of chronic inflammation as the root cause of many diseases. For example, for heart disease, it's not just cholesterol, but inflammation. Diabetes, it's not just blood sugar, but inflammation. Cancer, related to inflammation. And then the next thing, which is what they taught me in medical school, was the field of psychoneuroimmunology, how the psyche, your soul, connects to your nervous system, which connects to your immune system, and then modulates chronic inflammation. So stress is often the most underlooked part of this disease cascade. And that's why I love lifestyle medicine. And so speaking of that, I'm very happy to do my work, in a lifestyle center, one of the first in the Illinois area.
Yes. So you're the volunteer medical director at Salient Lifestyle Center, right? A nonprofit
Yes.
community center where you help people heal from the ground up. So please tell us about that. This is very exciting.
Yeah, so this project started with conversations with a friend who's a pastor in the Adventist church, Gabrielle. And, just we were talking about what we hope to have and how healthcare, is incomplete, and how it would be great to have a partnership to teach lifestyle and health. So with that center, the Adventist church funded part of it, and thanks to a grant from Ardmore Institute of Health, we were able to start up. And so there's a teaching kitchen downstairs with a big, dining area. There's a classroom. They have tower gardens, which are hydroponic gardens. So, it's just a different approach. Not everyone agrees with that, but it's great. And then there's also an organic community garden outdoors, which they have started. Very successful last year. We grew many things. So it is all around teaching for mind, body, spirit, lifestyle, physical exercise, and kitchen. So we did a little celebration of a class we did called Creation Life, which uses parts of the gospel of Jesus Christ to teach lifestyle. And so at the end of it, we had a community kitchen demonstration, and I made what's called pumfu, which is tofu made from pumpkin seeds. And then we made a noodle ramen, and people brought dishes. This lady brought a blue corn dessert, which was fruity. It was delicious. So that's the key, is to gather people together in a community to teach lifestyle, because what I found is lifestyle taught in isolation in the exam room is incomplete. When there's a group, then it becomes complete. And Gabrielle is teaching a depression and anxiety recovery program. Can you imagine the last 2 years how it's been like? This is so timely and important for the community.
Absolutely. Wow, this is absolutely amazing what you do. So how do parishioners, how do people in the community respond to this innovative style, at the church?
Oh yeah, so the participants we have had so far absolutely loved it. Whether they're of one religion or the other, we've had people of different faiths come. And sure, of course, we teach in the context of the Bible, but we open the lessons to everyone. And people responded in a great way. They found things which they never knew about. We watched Plantwise movie together. We made veggie chili together. And so the nice thing is, we combine the health lessons with spiritual lessons and food. And the discussion part is the best, where people share with each other. So we hope to start up some Spanish language programming as well. And the
Wow.
nice thing is, this is a community center, meaning it's freely available to anyone. They may just purchase the textbook and materials, but that's all we ask. And the nice thing is, we've seen pay it forward. We've seen people give grants of their own money. We've seen people buy books for others. And that's the most amazing part. They like it so much, they're helping others.
Wow. Wow. The power of and the energy of group
Yes,
is always amazing. Yes.
absolutely.
It multiplies and it grows exponentially.
Yes, and
Wow.
that spirituality is what's often missing from lifestyle education. For example, remember at your cafe, we invited the Bhante Sati from Minnesota to come and talk to a group. Wasn't that wonderful? So we
Yes.
talked about veganism and we talked about the medical part. So it's that model that when we
Mhm.
combine mind, body, spiritual aspects and not shy away from it, then you see the best results in a community setting.
Absolutely. So we also believe that the body, mind, and the soul, or the spirit, they're inseparable. So, and we just love connecting medicine to the energy and the spiritual aspect of healthy living. So
Absolutely.
it's so great when it all comes together.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Garg. So we truly appreciate everything that you do,
Thank
and we
you.
wish you best of luck in all of your endeavors. And we hope for the universe to bring to life more doctors like you that can help the community, that can
Thank
help the
you.
planet.
And yeah, I want to
Mhm.
emphasize that, look, lifestyle medicine is a big tent that we incorporate. Now I know of health coaches that are training who don't have, the master's degrees or the doctorate. So everyone is welcome under the tent to teach, because this is, community member to community member. That's the best
Mhm.
part of it.
Wonderful. So there is hope, right, for the
Yes.
humanity.
Well, the hope is that we have to take matters into the community. We can't
Mhm.
keep waiting for government and healthcare institutions to make those changes, because they're like the big ships that, take
Mhm.
time to change direction. But here we are, members of the community, doing something to better our health. And so just think, the health outcomes related to the physician and the doctor's office when it comes to
Mhm.
primary care are relatively on the low scale. It's lifestyle that is the lion's share of their health outcome.
There we go. There we go. Wow. This is amazing insight. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a beautiful day.
You too. All
Thank you
right.
for
Bye-bye.
joining us.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so now that we have heard from the amazing Dr. Garg about how he changes, how he brings a variety of changes around through working with physicians' assistants and with the community at the church, Adventist Church, at the Salient Lifestyle Center. So many ways to influence people. And now I would like to bring on our next guest, and it is Karim Ra, also known as Dr. Nature. So I know that many of you have seen him before and have met him personally, even. So he's the co-founder of Purple Sprout Conscious Organics. Thank you for being my partner in life and in what we do.
Thank
And
you for
so
having me on
today,
the podcast today.
of course, yes, you have a very interesting background there.
Yes, I'm in my kids' room. They were so kind as to allow me to
To
run
use it.
the podcast. I'm here today, so and it's always fun to be in kids' room. It's very
Yeah.
calming and grounding and uplifting at the same time. So yeah,
Yes. Kids are our future, right?
Yes.
And I would also love to share this personal fact about you. Dr. Nature, he's actually an artist at heart also. So the picture of Winnie the Pooh that you see there on the background, he painted that, and there are a lot more paintings, murals on the walls that you cannot see, unfortunately. But anyway, so I know, Dr. Nature, that you've had a chance to listen to Dr. Garg.
Yes, wonderful, well said, wonderful speech. Um, a lot of information, new perspectives, very hopeful, very, bright future, as if we were to really follow everything that he said. The future has medicine, and it's a beautiful development. So we know now which way the future medicine is going to develop, and really would like to see that go that way specifically. Yeah. Hmm.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, you have a lot of years and years, if not decades, of experience in the Western medicine as well. So, does it make you happy that there are a lot of changes that are taking place?
Yes. One of my latest work in Western medicine was that I was the hospice nurse, and I was visiting patients. I voluntarily did that because I was really genuinely drawn to understand what is that makes the person acquire a terminal disease without a hope. And I always believed in my life that there are no hopeless situations, because everything really depends on your personality, on your views, and how you manage yourself and go through life. And with that belief, I studied medicine, and then I went into hospice um, department, and was visiting patients, sometimes up to 6 8 patients a day, terminally ill, who were, many of them were losing hope, but many of them were really keeping themselves together, and keeping the spirits up. So I saw like ups and downs of hospice. And at that time, not much that I was connecting the health with nutrition, even though sometimes somewhere deep inside I knew that these two things are connected. But I saw what people were eating, and then it kind of drew me to understand this aspect more, as I was connecting this more and more, these two aspects, nutrition and health, to really see the direct connection between these two. And then further that I started to study the nutrition, I understood there's something beyond what we know about nutrition. That not many people would even be concerned about, or just overlook this aspect. But uh, I got very interested in this, and soon enough, my curiosity got me to understand other facts and aspects about the food that we eat, and what it does and how it influences our body, and our overall health, and even particularly specific conditions in specific organs and systems. So I started to study this aspect more and more, and myself and in our family, there were situations that we were facing some maybe serious to a certain degree conditions that were beginning to come to the front line, where we started to feel uh, the effect of these conditions, and we didn't know how to manage this. The only path seemed to be to go through the uh, medical machine, going to doctors, taking medications. But at the same time, we understood it timely enough. And by that time, I was already connecting these two aspects, that it's not just that there are other options of managing specific ways that you feel and uh, whatever's happening to you. So, and then I learned that food actually has energetic aspect to it. It's not just the homogeneous organic matter that you devour for the sake of calories and for the sake of balance of the food groups like
Or
protein,
just
carbs,
pleasure,
fats,
entertainment.
exactly. Because if we look at the food just in that dimension, it doesn't take us anywhere, and it does not specifically articulate the whole value that the food can actually bring in order to correct your condition. So the more I studied, the more I understood that food that that food that makes us, that food makes our health and entire body, and it can either damage you or it can benefit you, and benefit you in such a tremendous way that you can get rid of any ailment and become um, naturally healthy to almost 100% um, potential of what you are provided by universe. So, and it's the same, I guess, that concerns the food, that when uh, if somebody uh, takes medicine thinking that the medicine is helping them, it would be helping them if they are following the directions and they're not overdosing, they just taking it timely. Then medicine may help, of course, and this is what it's designed for. But if somebody starts taking medications overly, right and left, then of course it's going to bring the damaging effect. Just like that, the food does. Same thing. If mindlessly overeat and eat different combinations, different inappropriate times, without considering how your digestion works, then of course that can very likely be harmful, and will develop certain unhealthy conditions.
Mhm.
Whereas if you reconsider your regimen and nutrition, and understand how digestion is actually designed, um, and become conscious about it, start eating mindfully, then you can achieve uh, unlimited heights in how you can balance your health and basically regain it back completely.
Mhm.
So that's what,
Definitely.
yeah,
Mhm. So now you're the certified Ayurvedic practitioner, and you have been helping people become healthy through foods, through appropriate healing foods, through appropriate food combinations, um, herbs, and oils, and various natural ointments and breathing techniques.
yes.
So, can you please tell us, in your opinion, what does it mean food is medicine?
Um, well, let me say that our physiology functions is based on two main metabolic processes. One is the assimilation of nutrients, is the time that we eat and consume food, and the other metabolic process is elimination. And elimination is the time when the body is rejecting and eliminating, removing uh, the metabolic waste products that are not necessary, that are polluting uh, into the external environment, basically. And that happens from the on the cellular level, when the cellular metabolites are removed into the interstitial space, and then further down the drain into the lymph system, into the blood, into the liver, from the liver into the intestine, and then from the intestine out. This is the elimination process. Elimination process is inertive. It is not active. It happens by um, there is no specific moving mechanism for the elimination process. Body just makes it because nourishing assimilation process is very active, and it is ratioed that way that the body ratios it the way that you intake, that's gonna condition how you eliminate. Basically, even lymphatic system is a passive system. It does not have a pump, and pumps for the lymphatic system are muscles, especially the calf muscles, because as we know, the gravity pulls everything down, and for us to actually push the the lymph fluids and the interstitial fluids, we need to pump the muscle, and this is the only condition where the lymph actually rises into the liver for the detox. Basically.
This is very, very important. So I just would like to emphasize it to our viewers and listeners. So basically, you have to move. You have to physically move. You have to be physically engaged in some kind of exercise in order to keep your lymph working,
Moving.
lymph system working, and the lymph moving. So
Mhm.
instead of, for example, doing a lymphatic drainage, let's get outside, let's get into a gym, and let's move the body. Is that correct?
Mhm. Yes, of course. Nothing else is necessary other than just, being that active. But in some individuals who have like very deep stagnant process, lymphatic drainage could also come in, to help. But those are like later stages of conditions. So food as medicine. Now let's think of these two processes, which is the assimilation and elimination. Uh, they are they are the base uh, for our physiology, and if they're balanced, then we are in good shape, in good health status. The food in this term actually influences us in the following way. When we eat heavy and dense, very um, uh, hard to digest um, compounds or foods, then we tend to accumulate a lot of toxins. The acidity goes high. We uh, we end up polluting the system because these sludgy toxins, they become gooey-like substances within digestive tract. They turn into intestinal stones. They clog the system. They don't allow for good elimination. The longer we eat them, the longer uh, we don't consider the elimination process and do not support elimination process, the more there is chance that the stagnation and the accumulation of toxins will happen within our body. So, and usually, like Dr. Garg says, it's very hard. It's for a person to make the first step to begin changing their nutrition. And less that we know about the elimination and detoxification. For many people, detox regimen does not really mean much or mean something else other than what it really is. And Just letting that aspect go, not considering, actually worsens the health and makes the person very confused on what's going on. So the moment we consider our nutrition and begin changing it, we are giving our body the chance to cleanse and remove all those gooey, toxic substances accumulating within our system, within our tissues, and not just in GI tract. Uh, because our body is a very strong sustainable self cleansing entity. It just needs the specific right conditions in order to turn those processes, to turn those energies on in order to cleanse and purify. And the way that we're providing the body with that opportunity is becoming different eaters, different food eaters, and meaning that we would have to remove those heavy polluting substances for at least some time. Everything starts with baby steps. It doesn't have to be a drastic change of lifestyle going to full veganism. It can only be like maybe once a year, twice a year for the amount of time of a couple of weeks in order to change your nutrition, in order to release those toxins and allow your body to recuperate and get rid of that burden from the intestinal tract in order to be able to eliminate toxic matters from the bloodstream, from the tissues. And this, when we understand that food and the quality and the quantity of food changes, and this is how we consider food as medicine when we introduce more of the cleansing type of nutrition that allows for the good digestion, that allows for good elimination of toxins from from the from our system.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
that's
so
basic.
thank you very much for that explanation. Yes. Um, so this may be very mind-boggling for a lot of people, realizing that most of health conditions, most of the ailments are actually caused by improper nutrition. Because people generally think that it's genetic, or this comes with old age or some other things, but actually it's very much food induced, right? Most of the ailments. So can you
Yes.
please tell us what foods would be considered medicine?
Well, like I said, the lighter the foods, the better the benefits are. The accumulation of toxins is very gradual and long term. This is why people think that uh, diseases come with age, just because the accumulation happens not just in one day, but it's stretched through decades, basically. And without cleansing, the burden of it is actually gross and becomes more bothersome. So we need to introduce the fiber-containing foods, and these are plants. The more plants we eat, the better digestion we have, the better we move the bowels. That's the secret, you know. So everything that we need, including the superfoods, all the nutrients, are contained within the plant kingdom, because like animals, they also eat plants, and their body produce all necessary nutrients within. So our body is capable of doing that too. We just need to create the good conditions for that. So plants, uh, fiber, and we're talking about vegetables and fruits specifically. Not so much of the cooked grains; those could be still polluting, but yet still would be better than some animal products.
Or
And the
processed
same,
foods?
yes, at the
Mhm.
same time, we need to consider good, correct combinations, and that is, for example, some heavy carbohydrate, polycarbohydrate grains and legumes would not be appropriate to mix with animal products, because then in that type of mixture, our digestion is paralyzed and it's just really dysfunctional. And this is where we get a greatest chance of accumulating toxins and sludge and clog of the system, and then have all these diseases stem out of this condition. So as
Mhm.
much as we can remove that sludge, and um, that's what the purpose of the food, of the medicine food, or the medical aspect of the food matters. Uh,
Mhm.
and like I said, it's vegetables primarily. The more vegetables you eat, the better it is. Green smoothies uh, with different aromatic herbs with like great content of superfoods in them. That's the salads, greens basically are the
Mhm.
cleansers.
Okay,
So
so fresh vegetables is the answer, right?
fresh vegetables, yes, and some fruit is good too, but fruit maybe it's like as a group, it's very complex group. It's it's worth talking about for a longer time, but fruit can also be included in the first part of the day as your primary meal, the first meal of the day, and then after that, just focus on vegetables, on fresh vegetables, uh, and limit your grain and legume consumption, limit your animal product consumption, or maybe exclude it for the time of cleanse completely. Do not combine them together. And that way you will see very shortly that results follow. You will recuperate physically,
Mhm.
your mind will become clearer. That can even release some stressful situations, some anxiety, because all those things actually they come from the unhappy stomach, unhappy intestines. Once we have our intestines upset, then our mind is dull. Then we prone to develop depressions and anxiety and other mind conditions, uh,
Mhm.
mental conditions. So, and there's a saying that your intestine is your second brain, and truly, this is how it is, because a lot of serotonin and other neurotransmitters they are produced by the intestines, and the more polluted the intestines are, uh, that's what you will have to experience and deal with. The more confused the mind is. So
Mhm.
that's
Okay.
just as simple as this. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. So you already told us how what kinds of physical benefits we get from eating properly or eating foods that are medicine. You touched upon the mental benefits, right? So the
A little
stress,
bit. Hmm.
people perceive stress not as acutely when they are more plant rich. What other mental benefits are there? You mentioned greater focus, concentration.
Well, the happier, the better the neuromed um, function of our intestines, of course, the happier we feel. And what is also very important is that when we eat fresh vegetables and fruit, we perceive the different energy. So when we count the calories, that is just one type of the energies that is very basically flat. It's just the energy of the heating energy. But truly, what our body functions on is the electromagnetic type of energy, which is in Oriental medicine described as prana or chi. Basically, those two energies are inseparable too. One entails the other, and that's what fresh vegetables and fruit possess. So once we eat those type of products that have this electromagnetic energy that is not reduced, like in cooked grains or in cooked animal products or something like that, then we are perceiving that type of energy that helps our gut to produce those neurotransmitters in greater amounts, that actually that does not require too much of, but will balance the function of GI, and thus will perk our uh, mental status. I mean, it'll make us happy. It'll remove, the mental ailments like anxiety and things like that. So,
Thank
and
you. Thank you so much.
truly,
Mhm.
truly, how we need to measure what we need to measure the energy is not by calories, by joules and electromagnetic impulse. This is what the
Mhm.
true energy is, and little by little, I think this notion will become more
Mhm.
articulated and dominant in the medical field. Hopefully,
Thank you. Thank you for that eye-opening knowledge. So, and I have one last question
thank
for
you.
you. What are the spiritual benefits of eating in this manner? What are the spiritual benefits of whole foods, plant-based nutrition, primarily fresh fruit and vegetables?
Oh, it is tremendous. In fact, that's the only way that our soul has a chance to spiritually develop, is by eating fresh vegetables and fruit. I would even have the reference to the biblical story of when men roamed the Garden of Eden and were just eating fruit and vegetables. Right. This is what grows in Garden of Eden. And then once the man was put out of it and made a hunter or made a grower, this is when unhappiness began to happen. So originally we are made fruitarians or vegans or vegetarians. I mean, not vegetarians in the sense that we're consuming the animal products, but still, vegetables and fruit is the first line of nutrition. However, what it really how it matters is that our consciousness is nested along our chakras, and chakras are the frequential diapasons of vibration. So and the entity of our soul actually um, lives in a specific spectra of the chakra, and this what it is held in while we are eating specific food. For example, eating animal products would actually hold uh, the soul on a very lower spectrum of vibration without letting it develop the opportunity to ascend on the chakram column. Well, I don't know if this is easy enough for people to understand, really, but this is what the philosophical standpoint of the Oriental medicine, really. But what is also associated with is we have the energy channels, and many people know about that, about those. So once we become cleaner eaters, we have a chance of um, unclogging and cleansing those energy channels, making them patent, and have the energy rush through them. And this actually uh, provides us with the opportunity to ascend spiritually, um, where we remove any sort of aggression or aggressive way of. Um, this is well another aspect. When we source our food, if we remove the that aspect and go on um, neutral to compassionate way of sourcing our food, that means that we are removing that aspect from ourselves, and that actually gives us a chance to rise spiritually as well. So
Beautiful.
yeah,
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your deep knowledge and this
well,
wonderful
hope I
conversation. So,
was helpful.
yes, yes, thank you so much. I'm sure that this provides a much deeper understanding for our viewers and listeners.
All
So,
right.
thank you. You have a beautiful, blessed day.
Yes,
And
you too. And
thank you.
thank you for inviting me.
Of course, thank you. And now, let me introduce our next guest speaker. And let me repeat that Peggy Malecki is the publisher and owner of the Natural Awakening Chicago magazine. She has been for the past 12 years. She is the co-host of the Mike Nowak show Gardener, and she is an avid farmers market and CSA's supporter. Peggy, welcome.
Well, thank you, Irina. Thank you so much. I
Of
was
course.
really enjoying listening to Dr. Nature right ahead of this and learning things just sitting here. So I'm so happy to be joining you this morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very excited to have you on our show. So, Peggy, can you please tell us what wellness industry trends are you seeing right now?
So some of the biggest trends that are out there are things that have kind of come out of the pandemic, although many were starting to occur ahead of the pandemic, of course. And a lot of it is focused around self-care, of course, be it more personal life balance, more taking time for self, taking time with family. But one of the ones that really stands out, where and it falls into this podcast, of course, is just the boom in plant-based products, plant-based eating. There was a market research study that came out from a firm called Spins, which deals with food trends. And they say plant-based eating is now a $7 billion market in the United States, with 1.4 billion represented in plant-based meat products. So not necessarily just you hear of Impossible Burger and those products, but also chickpea based and other jackfruit based and other meat substitute products that have gone above soy crumbles and straight tofu.
Yes, thank you so much. But by the way, I have
Well, thank you.
one of your yes, Natural Awakenings magazines with me. So,
Yes.
so can you please tell us, have your readers been changing recently?
Mhm.
And if they have been, then how? What are you seeing? What are they asking from you?
Again, a lot of it isn't looking for information. There's so much out there, as you know. There's just a million websites. Everybody's got information, newsletters coming out all the time, and a lot of it's so hard, I think, for all of us to go between what is greenwashing, food washing, plant washing, whatever you want to call it, versus what's actual information. And with people having had more time in the pandemic, maybe to focus on self, to focus on getting through some of their reading, there's a lot more learning going on out there right now. And people I think they're looking for the information that matters, the information that is going to help them make a change in their life, to adopt a more healthy lifestyle, to adopt a more plant-based lifestyle, to figure out what's more important. Because we still don't have the time to sort through a ton of the information.
Yeah, so you have a very large audience. How did you, and you have a great reputation amongst the people that follow you.
Thank you.
How difficult was it, or how easy was it to build this kind of following? What challenges did you experience on the way?
Well, I've been publishing Natural Awakening Chicago for 12 years. Launched it in 2010. Launched into a recession, as I like to say. And we're a lifestyle publication, so we're focusing on healthy and sustainable lifestyle. So it could be anything from fit body and healing ways to how we eat, and how we eat affects the planet, and how everything we do actually affects planet and all the life. But we cover natural pet, we cover some inspirational. So we're different aspects of lifestyle. And I'm actually part of a larger family of magazines of about 50 across the country that's headquartered in Florida. But we're all independent publishers. And so just launching in the Chicago area, I was lucky to also have some other wonderful publications out there that people are kind of familiar with this space. Conscious Community. I'm sorry, that's Conscious Choice. Conscious Community is out right now. Conscious Choice, which was a publication in the late 90s and early 2000s. And then Mindful Metropolis. And then I launched in 2010. So it was a very good atmosphere at that point. And Monthly Aspectarian was out there, and there were several others. Monthly Aspectarian is now Conscious Choice. So it's just kind of over the years of getting out there, being at every event. We distribute the magazine throughout Cook, Lake, McHenry, portions of DuPage County, out by Naperville, online presence, print presence, and just really working with the community, working with people like you, Irina, and a lot of other of our community partners, be they practitioners, business owners, people in the community who are doing good things. high schools that are involved in Chicago Fair Trade, people who are making a difference with local agriculture. Just getting that information in and sharing it on our website and in print, and helping. I look at it if we provide the information to help people make their own healthy choices.
Thank you. Thank you so much. By looking at this magazine, it's obvious that you pour your heart and soul into this. So you're very passionate about it. What is your personal story? How did you get on this healthy path?
Well, I was actually, a lot of it, I think is just the way I was brought up. We ate pretty healthy. Sugar was a treat. Going out to eat was a treat. We didn't, soda. If you had soda, it was a little bit. There was just, we ate healthy, and a lot of vegetables on the plate. A lot of just trying to eat as seasonally as we could, which was kind of rare, but both sets of grandparents were gardeners. My parents were gardeners, and I just grew up gardening, and I grew up being outside. It was get up. The TV didn't have an off button. The TV had an on button, which I had to ask. Get outside. Get outside. You're outside doing stuff. Outside enjoying nature and learning about things, and traveling. And I grew up composting. It's like, didn't everybody?
Wow. So a lot of things that it takes decades for a lot of people to learn, you actually grew up with it.
Yeah. Now, I don't know that I do it by the book in some cases, but it was, it was just that my family's values of eating healthy and taking care of yourself.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So, Peggy, what would be your advice to our viewers and listeners? Tell us more about the value of farmers markets and CSAs.
Well, again, following some of the themes of what Dr. Nature was talking about, of choosing vegetables, choosing fresh food. Farmers markets were this wonderful time of year where there's more than 70 markets in the Chicago area, and more launching all the time. By the time we get to the end of this month, most of the markets will have opened. We're at a point where a lot of the markets even go year round. It's tricky, but there's been so many advances in hoop house growing and other things that we've been able to kind of extend local food cycles. So by local food, I mean food that may be coming from 100 miles. So it's close by, it's local, it's not coming from some farm in California. It's not coming from somewhere in South America. It's what's local right now. It's the end of the asparagus season, greens coming in, lettuces coming in, radishes are starting to come in. We're moving into things like rhubarb, and other maybe baby crops that farmers had going in hoop houses. And it's eating what's fresh now, not what's frozen, not what's canned, not what was picked 2 weeks ago, sitting on a dock somewhere and going into a big box store. It's supporting the local economy. It's supporting local small farmers, local artisans, local craftspeople who, again, pour their heart and soul into growing food and making healthy food. It's organic, it's regenerative, nurturing our soil, protecting our environment, and realizing that it all happens together. Healthy people, healthy planet, healthy people, healthy animals, healthy environment.
Yes, we are all interconnected, right? So I just have such a wealth of gratitude to farmers, to especially local farmers, especially those who grow organically, who engage in dynamic farming, because this is hard labor, you guys.
Yeah.
This is very hard labor. And thanks to those people, we have choices right now.
And probably more choices than we've had, because, I think even farmers markets 10 years ago, what you found at markets there was great variety, but there certainly was not the number of small farms actively participating in as many markets and in as many neighborhoods. throughout the city, throughout the suburbs. And the markets take on the flavor of where you are too. So
So
I was going to say, for somebody
absolutely.
who's got the time to go, there's market every single day of the week. There's morning markets, afternoon markets, evening markets, and just so many options for finding, if you are looking for maybe more ethnic products that you can't get at a market in the western suburbs, for example, or the North Shore or somewhere in the city, you're going to be able to find another market that will have them.
Wow, that's wonderful. Love how this network is growing. So what would be your advice to people who possibly want to start growing but don't really know, growing their own food, but don't really know how where to start, and who don't really have a green thumb? Is there such a thing as green thumb?
Everybody can grow something. I think it's a lot of it is mindfulness and consciousness of what you're doing. It's a plant, it's a living thing. It has to be nurtured like anything else. If you just pop a bag of seeds into a pot and walk away, it may grow, but it takes nurturing like everything else. And I think for somebody who's just getting started growing, start small. Start with a few tomato plants, start with a few herbs. Herbs are great to grow. If you don't have a lot of space, if you're in an apartment, if it's just a lot of work to get your garden going, start with a few containers. Make one small raised bed that you can put out and fill it with quality soil. There's some fabulous resources out there, books, websites, places to get started. Gardening has become, through the pandemic and continuing, gardening and home food growing have really, really, really grown. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's just taken off. That horticultural industry right now is just really huge as far as home gardeners, as well as people hiring people to do it for you. There's also, for that matter, there's services out there that will help you set up an organic garden, that will help you with a lot of different advice that you might want, or even growing sprouts and things indoors. If you just literally don't have the space outside, you can grow sprouts in a sunny window so that you can at least have some fresh sprouts. There are some wonderful LED products on the market that you could be growing greens indoors year round.
This is amazing that in our day and age you can grow pretty much you can grow your own food anytime, anywhere.
Yeah, and it's it's anything from food security, which I think a lot of people became aware of in the pandemic, when nobody expected they would not be able to walk into their grocery store and have a good selection. So it's anything from food security to supporting the local economy to reconnecting with the earth to getting the kids involved. Be it your kids, your nieces and nephews, the kids down the street, whatever.
Yeah, so this was going to be my last question for you, Peggy. Reconnecting to earth, what does it mean and how important is it?
It's very important. I think so many of the issues that we face with global warming, climate change, whatever you want to call it, to some social issues, to everything, is the short-sighted view that people have taken over the decades, over the centuries, of removing ourselves from the planet, removing ourselves from nature, from not being connected, to somehow seeing what we do, excuse me, sorry, how what we do, missing out on that it's all interconnected, that the choices we make in the food we eat, the choices we make in the clothing we wear, the cars we drive, the energy we use, everything is going to affect the rest of the planet now, next generation. And I think even the simple act of gardening, of getting your hands in the soil, of having your kids grow up digging in the dirt, playing in the yard, as opposed to everything being, I'm sorry, excuse me, everything being just sanitized and separate. When that connection's not there, everything just starts falling apart. And the simple act of watching a plant grow, of planting it, watching it, nurturing it, and harvesting the tomato off of it, thanking the plant, taking the energy in, is such a vital connection point to then start having more of an awareness of other things, having more of an awareness of how the trees affect us, of how the pollinator, what's happening with pollinators, what's happening with insects, what's happening with birds, and all the declines that are happening. But when we're separated from all of that, it's so easy to just, oh, that's a news story, and move on, and not see how that's actually affecting us and how our actions are affecting the rest of the planet.
And this is food as medicine at its core. And this is what can help us save the planet. Yes, thank you so much, Peggy, for your time, for your insight, for the beautiful tips for our viewers and listeners. Thank you for what you do, and good luck to you in all of your endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Irina.
Thank you. Okay, dear friends, and now we will bring on our last guest of this podcast, Freddie.
Hello.
Freddie, hello. We have a beautiful scenery there. We just cannot see your face.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'll see if I can turn this around. Maybe have some light on my face.
Okay. And in the meantime, I would like to share with you. I would like to share a few pictures with you of Freddie Schwartz, our today's guest. So he's an athlete, organic whole food plant-based advocate, and the dedicated godfather of two wonderful boys that I'm sure he'll tell us about. So, and these are just some of the things that he engages in. So probably one of the most athletic people I know. So, Freddie, have you always been this way?
Well, I've always been athletic. So from a young age, really enjoyed cycling. That's kind of like where it started. I'll give you a little story. When I was about in 4th grade, we lived in Arlington Heights, and we wanted to go ride down to Chicago. So we would tell our parents, one person would say, well, I'm going to have lunch at my friend's house. And then I would say, I'm going to have lunch at this friend's house. And then dinner. So we were able to go ahead and get away with the whole day. So, so we rode all the way down to Chicago.
Of course, you didn't have cell phones at that time, so parents couldn't really track you down.
No, there was no checking, and no, we were on our own. We made it down to Chicago, to the lakefront, and made it back. No maps. We just knew to go east, to go to the lake, and go west to come back. So it started a lot with cycling for me, and that's kind of like where I guess I would say my physical fitness or exercise came in. And then from there it was baseball, basketball, running, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, mountain biking racing. So I've always had that in me to be, I would say, very adventurous and be an outdoor person and not be like an indoor person. I always felt I had ease being outside in nature, regardless of what I'm doing. Even when I'm just sitting in the backyard and just, listening to the birds and, listening to the wind and the leaves. So yeah, always been an outdoor person.
Beautiful. So that's actually, as we know from the conversation with Dr. Nature, physical movement dynamics is what helps to move your lymph, and that helps to move the energy around. And this is what provides you with longevity. Yes. But Freddie, tell us, please, how did you become plant-based? So what inspired you, and what benefits did you start to experience?
Well, there's a couple different steps to that. And, when I was growing up, it was meat and potatoes, not that much vegetable, a lot of milk, poultry, and so that was, when I was young like that, your body can go ahead and kind of like process it and kind of like you're kind of like okay with it, although really you're not. It's just because I think your body is young. It's just expelling things so quickly that it doesn't realize, what the harm that it's doing. Um, so I, in a way, started my journey through being athletic and being adventurous. And what I mean by that is I was listening to a podcast. It was a ritual podcast. It was about 8-9 years ago. And he is an athlete. He was voted, I think, the top 10 athlete back then in the world. He's just fantastic. I found him really interesting. And he is a vegan. And he was talking about how when he became a vegan, that if he would train one day really hard, well, actually, before he was a vegan, if he would train really hard, regardless of what he did, the next day would be like a recovery. You're kind of like, oh, I can't go out and cycle again. I need to go ahead and rest. My body's tired. But when he became a vegan, he said the next day, he felt fine. He's able to go ahead and do those same type of things without feeling, really tired and, kind of fatigued. So in a roundabout way, that kind of led me on my journey because it was involved with fitness and, being outside. So I slowly started to become, I would say, plant-based. That's kind of like what I call myself. I don't like to put myself in a camp because you got all these camps now. You got keto, you got vegan, vegetarian. I don't even know all the rest of the names, but I have.
There are a lot, yes.
Yeah, so everybody has their own. I think I don't like to categorize myself into one particular camp, but I would say I am, primarily plant-based. So once, and this is interesting because I'll coincided with Purple Sprout because I was looking to become a vegan or more plant-based, and at that time I was working at Allstate Insurance Company, which was down the street from where Purple Sprout was, and I would just start going there for lunch. Pretty much became like an everyday thing. Go there for lunch and get smoothies, and got to know the wonderful family. Just wonderful people, and that's how I guess I would say the food portion became more evident, and I became more aware of the different varieties of vegan food that are available that I really like. And I have a really open palate. I think Irina asked me one time, so I do the meal plans, like which ones do you like best? Is there one that you don't like? And I like every single one of them. I don't, when I have my meal plans in the fridge, I'll pull out whatever one, and I don't have to look at the label and say, I don't want this today, So I go ahead, I know I'm going to like it, and I eat it. So that kind of, I would say, started my journey into plant-based, and then right away, I shouldn't say right away, I would say within a month, I was able to go mountain biking, go for a long ride, and the next day I'm like, wow, I feel fine, I can go out for another ride. I mean, of course, I wouldn't go extreme riding every day or extreme running every day, but I had the energy to go ahead and go out and go ahead and do that again. So for me, it was first based on athletic, and it was based on my energy level, and then it became more. Then it became the environment. It became the energy or the lack of energy you get from like animal products, or not just the product itself, but the vibration that is in your body, and the negative vibration, I would say, when you do eat animal products. So it was a slow process of different little segments that brought me to where I'm at right now. So it wasn't like a one shot deal. It's kind of like you do this, epiphany comes up, earth,
it's a process.
animals, now that I help raise my godsons, it's also very important to set an example for them. So
Yes. Are you able to influence them? How do they respond?
Well, the easiest thing for me to, influence is by example. I've learned that, if you kind of say, well, you should eat this or you need, to me, it doesn't really work. I don't think it works. But for me, it's just example. So it'd be like, Uncle Freddie, what are you eating? Oh, I'm eating this, can I try it? Yeah. So, sometimes a lot of my purple sprout meals get split into 3 people because they want to have some
Beautiful.
too, you know. And it's by being outside, like the previous guest said, you just got to get kids outside. They are not meant, or any of us meant to be like indoor all day, staring at a screen. So just getting them outside. So all the things that I enjoy doing, I bring them with me. I buy bikes for them. I should say we got bikes for them, scooters. Last year I took them paddleboarding, took a paddleboarding lesson with them. They're into swimming. So pretty much, hiking, camping,
Yes.
and it's kind of interesting because when kids are young, you go ahead and you are an influence to them, and you don't think that they are observing you or kind of like soaking any of this in because they're kind of like doing like their own thing, right? But then after a couple of years, they're like doing what you were doing previously. So it gets like embedded in there somewhere, right? But it doesn't come out for a while. So
They're like sponges. They soak everything in. Yes.
they soak it in, but they don't. They don't take action on that right away, right? So they'll soak it in, and then it might be a year or 2 years later and 3 years later where what they soaked in earlier will become more evident to them, and where they will start utilizing it. So it's just a matter of patience. I found out it's patience. It's not really pushing them. It's setting examples, putting in little seeds, and not expecting that seed like to grow like within a 2-week period or a month period. It might take a year, and then they'll come back to that. So
Wow, that's beautiful advice. That's beautiful advice. Instead of pushing someone, instead of insisting them on them doing something or changing their ways, just do your own thing and let people observe.
Yeah.
And especially kids, they will follow in your footsteps.
Yeah.
You are such an inspiration to our own boys.
Thank you.
They always, yes, you're such a role model. They always look forward to spending time with you.
That's great. I'm honored.
Yes, like our older son, you took him on several biking trips. So at the age of 12, I think he did 24 miles with you. So
Yes.
that was quite an accomplishment. So
It's
yes,
very
we're so
impressive.
grateful. We're so grateful you're in our lives, and I'm sure that your godsons love you to the moon and back.
Yeah, I love them. I mean,
Everything that you do for them.
they're such an important part of my life. I worked for Allstate for 35 years. I was in IT, and then I was able to go ahead and semi-retire after 35 years and becoming 55. So I was very fortunate to be able to do that. And then also coincided with the mother needing help, with my godsons. So now that's pretty much I would say my full-time job. I'm consider myself a manny, which, is fantastic. It's, working in IT, was really a breeze compared to trying, helping with a 9 and 11-year-old.
Compared to raising children, yes.
Yes. It is much more rewarding. It is.
Anything fails in comparison, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Purple Sprout has helped me out so much. The meal plans are fantastic. I mean, for me, several different things. One is it's just very healthy, energy-giving food for me. So that's a part of it. A part of it. Another part is it's delicious. I really enjoy eating it every time. Like when I'm out during the day, and it's always good to have something to look forward to during the day. I think I always have something to look forward to. And one of the things I look forward to is I'm going to have a Purple Sprout dinner. I'm going to have a Purple Sprout meal. I'm like, and then you mentioned this before, but Ayurvedic, Karim, he has helped me so much, mentally, physically, when I have, some issues, having consultation with him, and even, helping me with questions I may have about my godsons, because, you guys are parents also. So there's different aspects of Purple Sprout that have really elevated, I would say, my health, my health and fitness, and also got to know the family real well because I volunteered for them. I volunteered at Purple Sprout, and I loved it. I love cutting up vegetables.
Thank you for that.
It's one thing I just love cutting. Like helping in the kitchen, so no, I don't want to cut. My business is fantastic, cleaning dishes. This is great. I love my dishes, so it's been a great journey with Purple Sprout. Definitely being a big part of me, becoming plant-based and more earth conscious, environmentally conscious, in all those respects.
And Freddie, you are such an important part of Purple Sprout and our family. So you're one of the kindest people I know. So
Thank you so much.
and just thank you so much for how you are inspiring people around you, especially inspiring your godsons, because the kids are the future of their families, of their family lineages, of the communities, of the countries, and of the entire planet.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Thank you so much.
And they're looking at careers into environment. They're looking, engineer into, what are we going to do with all this waste, that we're, creating right now. My young godson, he loves Earth Day. We go out, he sees me picking up, trash or plastic, and then now, he does that. Although the parents kind of go like, don't touch that. It's like garbage, it's plastic on the wall. So now he's like picking it up and putting it in recycling. But yeah, and like you said, about I think kindness brings on kindness. You were very kind to me. So I think kindness kind of like has a domino, effect.
Definitely. Thank you so much for your impact, and thank you for your time today.
Oh, you're welcome.
Wishing you all the best.
My pleasure. I'm very honored.
Thank you so much, Freddie. So, dear friends, this concludes our today's very long podcast, but we are very happy we got a chance to introduce all these wonderful people to you. And if you have any questions, please do reach out, info@purplesprout.com, or call us, follow us on social media, and of course, write comments under this video, because on our YouTube channel, because it's very important for us to grow our channel, and you can help by sharing this YouTube channel with others, by subscribing to our channel, and by also writing comments that are longer than 8 words. So thank you very much. We are happy to be here for you. We are happy to serve you in this capacity, happy to be able to have an opportunity to bring all this great, practical, wonderful, free content. So thank you. Thank you for your support, and much of love and gratitude. Bye-bye.